There's a few areas we have to be watching specifically on the Nasdaq and the SP 500 going into this week, because if you break these levels, in my opinion, it's almost guaranteed that a new low will be established. Now we're going to start talking about this specifically here in the video. We're going to go over what we were looking at on Friday that told us more downside was coming into the beginning of this week and everything you need to be paying attention to. Before we get into that, I have to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day I'm posting these videos for you, giving you the updates on the market for the broad scale indexes, and then as well as stocks I'm liking as well near the end of the video, so you are up to date, ready to profit every single day. Let's get into it. So the first thing we're gonna look at is gonna be the Nasdaq. I'm gonna actually come to the 4 hour for a second here, and we're gonna start just taking a look here. Now, we can still see we are clearly in that downtrend, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's happening here. Clear as day, you're just going down, right? Now, I want to highlight a few areas that we're at. You're sitting at this 12,000 level, and that's the big area right now. This is the area you need to be paying attention to. And in my opinion, it looks like we're about to flip it and start heading towards the downside. Now, today, we saw a little bit of emotion pushing us up towards the upside pre-market, right? We saw us pushing up this 12-2 range, getting rejected, pushing down. Now, what does this tell us here? As we zoom in here, I want to highlight a few things. You continue to make lower highs, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Again, again, again. Lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. Continuous, right? It's the same thing happening and happening and happening. This tells us one thing. We are in a bearish trend, right? So going into the last few months, we were looking at the upside, but I continue to tell everyone, be prepared for that downside, and it's hitting us right now. So looking at this right now, what am I looking at? I want to highlight on the shorter time frames what's really happened. We're running into some volume here, but there was a lot of big things happening and taking place here. So basically, beginning of the market, you were pushing up, you were getting some good pressure yesterday into this morning, and then boom, triple top, boom, 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 12-2-3, give or take, and you got rejected. I also highlighted this in Discord as well at the beginning of the day. Was this key area, basically where you were pinballing back and forth. What happens? You break below. Let's actually get rid of this so you can see a little bit clearer right there. We're actually going to make this invisible as well. So now you can see you broke down, you retest, and then boom, you shoot back down. Looking at this day, it was a clear shot of downside across the board for me. Now, from the beginning of the day, you had that downside near market open. You pop back up near the weekly, which was that rejection, and you're pushing back down. Now, I want to highlight a few things here. You can see that we're operating in a bear pennant now, and you can say it's getting tighter, whatever you want to say, just drawing it pretty quickly for you. You can see where we're kind of forming out here. And you're, really squeezing in. Now, what we're looking at here is you're getting below 12,000 and buyers are stepping in. Now, they're not very aggressive here, but you push below and you're pushing right back up. That's a good sign here for bulls. However, what you're not doing is making higher highs, okay? You continue to make lower highs. That's bearish. So we are seeing the volume step in here. And when I'm saying volume, you can go look at Yahoo Finance on SPY. Your average volume on the past 30 days has been around 62, 63 million. You're operating above that in the past 5-6 days, right? It's just 100 mil, 60, today 74, Friday 99. Great volume on SPY. Okay, so you're getting the good volume. We're getting what we want. However, I want to point something out. With this good volume, you're seeing sellers definitely stepping in when you hit these key levels, right? So when you hit a resistance, sellers are stepping in, right? You pop up, boom, you hit it, and then sellers are pushing you right back down, right? You can see right here, they just push you right back down. Now with buyers, you saw that buyer reaction push you up. That was good. No follow through. You shot back down, and guess what? Sellers step in, but less buyers stepping in now. Sellers not even letting you get that high, pushing you back again and again. So as I look at this, I have cause for concern. That's Nasdaq. ES, this is going to be like SPY futures, basically the adjacent to QQQ is Nasdaq. Going into SPY, it's ES. Looking here, in my opinion, ES is weaker. So SPY is weaker than QQQ if you're just trading ETFs. The Nasdaq is stronger, in my opinion, than ES. ES here is leading the market. Going into today, this is that same kind of level you had right there. Look at how you broke beneath this, right? You're pushing down. You come back up very slowly from buyers and quickly rejected, right? So you get all of this action over the past basically 2 days right here, trying to push you up with buyers. And then within around 10 hours of hitting at this resistance, sellers say enough is enough. 8:30 opens up, the US market opens, and they shoot you back down. Okay. So where the writing on the wall is here for ES is going to be about 3,900 flat. Okay. And then for Nasdaq, it's 12,000 flat. Those are your key areas. In my opinion, you look like you're preparing to shoot down here. Now, I want to tell you right now, I only have one position for the downside right now, and that's Target. And then as well as J-Ream has his AMD position. I'm going to go into that here in a second as well. But look in here, these are my levels that I'm targeting. I want to give you my overall outlook into the next few days and weeks, right? Going into this, I see ES. The next sign of life for me is going to be down here, locally 38.40, 38.30 range. That's where I have us going down here. That's just my overall target, okay? Now, the key area to watch is breaking below 3,900 and 38.80. Going over to NQ, Nasdaq. What's happening here? Want to be very clear about this as well as we're zooming in here. Look at where you're at and look at how you're operating. If you break below 12,000 and hold, so again, you break below and hold below, I am looking for a clear, quick test of 11.8. It's going to be violent. It's going to be quick. It's going to be ugly, okay? So if you start to hold here on like a 30-minute to 1 hour time frame below 12,000, right, and you come back up and retest, I anticipate a violent drop quickly down to 11.8 to 11.75. But it's all about if you hold below these key levels, right? On Nasdaq, on ES, you have to be watching those things. But if you're looking to trade the upside, you are so limited because of all these resistances that you now face, okay? You have right now, for instance, you're stuck below your previous high or previous low you had back here on September 1st. Very dangerous. You made a new low today, but that was your previous low. So now you're stuck below that. And this just keeps happening and happening. More and more resistances, more and more sellers are stacking up. That's a major cause for concern. So on indexes, you have my opinion. I see downside coming. Okay. Now I want to look at a little bit of the fundamentals. And at the end of the video, you can skip ahead if you want to. I'll have it bookmarked for you. You can look at the stocks I'm liking. Before we go any further, I want to give a special shout out to the sponsor of this video, Prime XBT. As you come in here, you can see you're able to trade all of these: Bitcoin, Euro USD, S&P 500, and crude. But the thing is, this is all going to be with Bitcoin, and that's why these margin abilities are here. As well as that, these are all the features that are really going to come with it as well on the platform. You're going to be able to get crypto, of course, at those real prices, and you're not going to have too big of spreads, which you've seen from a lot of these margin brokers. The margins also very low fees, and as you trade more, you can actually get the fees reduced. The next thing is when you're actually doing this more and more on the long side and you want to put some of your profits into that long-term portfolio here, you can put them and leverage them up so you're actually earning interest on all your positions as well. And then if you find someone, because there's a lot of crypto traders out there that you like their strategy, you can actually copy their strategies as well with them. They're one of the only brokers that allow this. And if you're interested in using them, I recommend using the mobile app because that is personally what I'm always using. I don't love using the desktop for this. I'm always on my phone or my iPad. Let's get back to the video. J and K, some of these fundamentals here. J and K, you saw it. Downside today. No upside. There was none. You never really got back above the weekly, above the daily open here. Downside. DXY, you're seeing the story being told right now. We talked about this last week. The dollar, remember that bull flag we talked about? You broke out of it. New highs being established, and you're pushing even stronger. The euro, really getting hurt. The pound, really getting hurt. Dollar, no sign of slowing down as we speak. These are things you have to be looking at. The yields, the 10-year versus the 30. This is something we need to talk about as well. The best indicator of inflation, a recession, major pullback. Look at what's happening. You're still riding it, still pushing up. You did get a little bit of downside here. Yields did kind of fluctuate. Important to know, you're still above 95%. Has to keep you concerned. Okay, you're still very much there, chopping to the upside. I anticipate yields to start pushing back to 1%, a full inversion within the next 3 to 4 weeks, about a month, give or take. That's when I see us getting back to these levels, most likely. Don't quote me on that, but that's where I see us right now. Do your own DD. Now, Looking at VIX, this is one of the bigger things here. I want to highlight the movement that you've seen over the past few days. As you're getting into VIX, you have to be concerned. This is the 15-minute chart, but I want to highlight the past 2 weeks. So basically, we had this giant channel when we were operating bullishly, pushing us down. When you got out of this, you pushed out, this is like, look, you need to be concerned. Why? Because you're pushing out of this basically 3-month trend to the downside. Now, you're pushing out of it, and over the past few days, you saw some downside, but ultimately, you're consolidating above 24. And if you look at this downside pressure that we've had on Nasdaq and ES, the major concern for me is that VIX hasn't even hit 30 yet. So with all this downside on the market, VIX hasn't even had its breakout to 30 yet, which has happened on almost every other breakdown you've had, which tells me you're probably going to get a break up on VIX towards 30, which would indicate a lot more downside for ES and Nasdaq. Next up, we're going to start looking at some of these stocks. Before I get into stocks I'm liking, I want to show you what concerns me so much. Now, when we look at Nasdaq, I want to zoom out really quick and just give you an idea of what I'm looking at. So on the 4-hour chart, look at what's happening. Basically, from the highs we've made, you're down. You're over halfway, 50% down from these levels. You have about, let's say, 40% more to go down. From this move here to here, about 60% to here, okay? You're about 6/10 of the way down there, right? Now, going into stocks, though, this is where things get interesting. We look at Meta. We look at some of these big names. They all bounced really well, but look at Meta. It went to 183. And over the past 2.5 weeks, you're already back down at lows. Microsoft, very close. You're about 15%, 10% down, almost right close back down to those lows. You're very close to falling off the cliff again, right? You're really hurting. AMD, Nvidia, they're really falling down. They're moving quicker than these indexes are. Nvidia, this is the one that really has the pain kicking in. You've already made new lows, right? Now there's a lot of news coming out about these, but it has to have you concerned on the market with if you're already getting this big of dumps on stocks that are really big, your big caps, how much lower can they really go if SPY and Nasdaq make new lows? That has to concern you. And if we look at SPY, you know my overall target here comes all the way back down to pre-COVID highs, which is right here. February 14th, right here around 339, 340 on SPY. That's like my end goal target. It's going to be a massive support if we ever get down there. But if we go down that low, imagine the price of Nvidia and these big stocks that we love to trade for the long-term account. Imagine the possibilities and the entry opportunities we're going to get. Now, there are some exceptions here. If we go back to like Apple, you know, all things considered, you bounce so well. You bounce from 129 all the way up to, 160, 177 roughly. And you're back at 150. You still have a lot of ways to go. You're holding up strong. Apple is proving to be that guy, right? All jokes aside, it's proving to be one of the strongest stocks in the market. So you're seeing the stocks that are going to hold up, and you're seeing the weak stocks. This is telling you where the volatility is going to be. And this is also telling you the opportunity that's setting out there. So Apple, yeah, you have a lot of room to come back down. Worth mentioning. However, it's definitely one of the stronger stocks out there. Now I'm going to go into stocks I'm liking to trade and setups. So just know this lines back up to with the Nasdaq and SPY. So if they start breaking below those key levels, then I'm looking for these downside. Let's get into it. First up, we're going to mention Target, and we're going to go to AMD next. So as we get into Target, I want to mention key levels that we've already been breaking under. Now, when we had that very bullish trade basically from 169 all the way up to around 184, congratulations if you traded that with us, you are below that key level now. Basically the key range, 168 to like 169. That's your big bullish range. Below that, I think you have to be a bear. Looking at Target, and I'm going to get into the ETF specifically, I think you're weak. You had a very strong push from the weekly open, today's open 164 down to your monthly, and you bounced. I love this as an entry opportunity. Actually, in Discord, so everyone knows, we can actually go look at what we traded today. In Discord, Jay Ream had some monster callouts. They were so good, I didn't even trade on the day. He traded AMD. He got some more leaps on this, and then he got the weekly puts on 510 Costco's. Those went absolutely crazy. You made off with a killing here. It was awesome. We ended up cutting out like 50%, but they went up over 70%. So that was the trade of the day there. End of the day, I ended up getting some targets, like very end, close of the day. I love this play. Looking here, I'm bearish as long as you're below 164.5. If you start to mount this, then I'd be concerned. But looking here, I anticipate downside all the way back down to 159, possibly even a break lower. I want to mention what I'm looking at here, though. As you go into XLP, which is the consumer staples indicator, or sorry, the ETF, sorry, look at how weak you're acting here. Look at how low you are. There's no love here. You break below this key level, it is doom. Bad. So this is why I like this so much, and this is why we're focusing on these sectors overall with Costco, Walmart, things like that right now, because we know the dangers here. That's the plan here. We're looking at XLP, very concerning. AMD, semiconductors. Semiconductors are in a world of pain. You're seeing the market try to bounce, but semiconductors refuse to bounce. So I ended up closing the rest of my AMDs because they were up like 50%. I just want to secure profits on them. I'm probably looking to grab some more leaps though, just a little bit further out, like maybe a month and a half. They're not really leaps. They're just extended right now, and I don't like swings. But as we're looking at this, AMD is weak, right? AMD, you've double topped on Friday, roughly. You came back down. On the day, you continue to make lower highs, and you're sitting at lows. Okay, if you break below this range right here, like the 178.5 and hold below this, it's doom. It's probably going to be an immediate touch of 74 down to 73, quick. Now, you're also below your key range of $80. That's a major concern. And that's where the weakness starts for here for AMD. AMD, I see a lot of downside. If I'm looking to day trade, I like NVIDIA. If I'm looking to swing, I like AMD. I think there's monster downside. Next up, NVIDIA, the day trade, right? And this is just enough in itself. It's weak, people. It's weak. Why do we want to trade NVIDIA and AMD to the downside? Because those are the weakest sectors in the market. Semiconductors, people, with what's happening with China and Taiwan. Until something changes, that's the weakest sector in the market. What does that mean? That's the area of the market that's going to get hit the hardest if indexes dip. Therefore, we'll make the most money on this sector. Looking at it, I would be looking possibly for a retest of this zone at like 136 for a possible pushback down. That's what I'd be looking. It's worth mentioning, NVIDIA has not broken its lows that it made on last Thursday, so you're going to want to look out for that. If NVIDIA breaks out of this level, again, world of pain is coming. This is a major, major level right here. You got to see. That's your low from last May, worth mentioning. As you zoom in here, your next level is basically where you're at right now. You can see you have a little bit of support in this region right here, about 133. After you break below that, that's when pain most likely sets in. And I have to, this is one of those areas I'm not extremely loving, but I'm looking more for this test down to about 127 to 128, back at these lows where you were trending back here. That's where I have to anticipate, and that's where I would assume you start to go back towards this region, about a $5 level. I like AMD. The chart's more clear. That's where we're swinging that one. That's why we love it. Next up, Tesla. We're going to look at Tesla on about the 15-minute chart and get in here. On Twitter, if you're not following, I post levels all the time here. Tesla's respecting its levels to a T. There's a lot going on here, so let me break this down. Now, our key ranges we're watching, I'm going to highlight right here. Basically, this 176 to 175.5 range. Sellers will not let you get above it. Tesla was probably one of the most bullish stocks on the market today. However, indexes would never get continuation, right? So I don't see a stock running unless Nasdaq and SPY can run up with it. Unless you have big news, typically your stocks aren't going to do that. Your big range you're watching is 279 through 280. Below 279, you're very bearish here. So looking at this on the day, I told people in Discord, I was like, I wouldn't be looking to short Tesla right now for myself because it's just so strong. Even when the market dips, Tesla was holding up. However, if you break back below 272.5, about this region right here, I become very bearish. So if you start breaking down like this, getting a retest, I would look for the lows test around 266, 267 to possibly even a new low being established with that push coming down to 263, 264. That's the range I'd be watching. That's going to wrap the video up. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll try to get to all of them before the end of the day. See you tomorrow.